Hi everybody. Hopefully this video will be helpful in navigating the timesheets that we use. So over the past couple of years, we've transitioned from having paper timesheets onto electronic ones. We find this just helps keep things in one place. Students don't have to track down their supervisor to sign them, especially with a lot of remote working. Nowadays, this tends to be the best method. So we use Google Sheets to manage our timesheets. So for those who've had a Kuiper intern in the last couple of years, this might be familiar already, but I just want to give a refresher and also a little tutorial for those who haven't used them before. So every student has been given a master spreadsheet that will cover the timesheets and the time tracking for just the fall semester. So whether you're a block placement student or if you are doing your internship over 2 hours, this will cover from the end of August when we have our orientation all the way until the end of this semester. And then the process will be the same for the winter. You'll just get the winter version with the updated dates, but it will look exactly the same. So what I have done is every student has a shared Google folder where I have uploaded the blank master sheet. So for students, you're going to want to go into your Google Drive. You'll go shared with me. If you need to search it, you can search it by my name and it should pop up. If you look up for things shared by Kay Hoffman, you will see the master spreadsheet. I believe I've assigned your name to each one, so it should be super easy to find. But if you forget where to access it, it will be shared with me. You'll have that folder with your name and all of your important field documents, but that's where it will be. So once you find that, you are going to want to go into the spreadsheet, and on the tab that says information, you will want to put your name, your practicum location, and who the supervisor is that will be signing off on your timesheets. Now I know some placements will have multiple supervisors, basically because of licensing. So the individual who has to sign the timesheet must be the BSW or the MSW. So if one of your supervisors has a degree in a different field, totally fine. But we have to have the credentials from the Bachelor's of Social Work or Master's of Social Work signing off on them as well. So update all of that information. On this front page, you'll see that we do kind of track where your hours are being spent. There is no requirement that you have to have X amount of client contacts, X amount in training, et cetera, et cetera. This is just a really helpful tool if you start to notice that you're really heavy on orientation and training or observation and you're not getting a ton of client contacts. This is a good talking point for students to have with their supervisors just to make sure they're getting a balanced experience. First semester might look a little bit wonky because it is very heavy on orientation, training, observation, just due to the nature that students are still learning. By second semester, we just want to make sure that things are kind of balancing out and that they're having opportunities to learn in all the different areas of their placement. So after the students have gone in and changed all of that information, I'm just going to scroll down. The students will need to share this document with their supervisor's Kuiper email. So at orientation, all of the supervisors will be given a Kuiper email. It is super general and generic. It's not specified to the actual supervisor's name. It'll just be your agency name at Kuiper.edu. So I'll make sure that you have the actual email domain as well as the password to be able to access that. If your agency actually has an email that's hosted by Gmail, you can use that one to access the timesheets as well. You'll just have to have the student share it with that email. I personally don't care if it's either your work email or if it's the Kuiper email, as long as it's identifying who you are and you can get into the timesheet. So once you share it, the student shares it, then the supervisor will be able to access it. Of course, there has to be an error in here somewhere. This is actually Professor Meyer Dunning, not Dr. Merriman. I forgot that I'm using the document from last year. I need to update that. So both myself and Pilar will have access to the folder so we can keep track of timing. Pilar will be here while I'm on maternity leave, but we'll both have access to it to be able to support and just kind of do some audits and check in balances to make sure that everyone's good on their hours. All right, so that's the initial steps: changing the names, sharing with your supervisor to either their Kuiper email or their preferred email, which can be work, personal, whatever, as long as it's hosted by Gmail. So how to actually use the timesheet. I'm hoping this is rather user-friendly, but again, we never really know, and what might seem logical in my head might not seem logical for somebody else's head. So when you go to the timesheet, you're going to see that it's broken down bi-weekly. And so if you go to weeks 1 and 2, we start the week of August 22, which is the week of orientation. And so you can kind of see I've identified when I'm saying week 1, these are the dates that I'm referring to. Each week for individuals who are doing their internship over 2 semesters, you want to get around 13 to 15 hours per week if you want to make the 200 hours by the end of the semester. If you're consistently getting 13 every week, you are going to be a few hours short. If you're consistently getting 15, you will be over. So make sure there's a good balance and you're staying proactive on the timing. So when you go into your internship, let's say your first day is going to be the 25th because that's the day of orientation. Students will put in what day they're tracking, and then they're going to assign the hours to those different categories that we had seen on the information page. And so we are going to have an hour and a half orientation. Look at that. It automatically calculates the hours. Let's say your internship wants you to come back that very next day because they're going to be giving you 4 hours of orientation, and they had you observe 1 session. And so this is all set with all the fancy stuff that sheets can do. The equations will give you your total hours. So you don't have to do any adding yourself because we know that social workers always excel at mathematics. The computer is just going to do it for you. So it shows that for your first week, you've already accumulated 6.5 hours. And again, it's tracking bi-weekly, so you just put seriously the dates that you go in, what type of work you do, automatically calculate it. Students will sign off and give the date of when they sign it. Supervisors will sign off and give a date when they sign it. It is very important that the supervisors do put their credentials. It's part of our accreditation process to show that we are having BSWs and MSWs supervising our students. So if we find that there's no credentials on there, we're going to have the students bug you to make sure you put them in there. So that is very much appreciated and something that we need. Once they are signed, please do not change the hours up here. We can see where edits happen. And so if you sign off on it and the student realizes that they actually got more hours than they did, that's fine, but it's going to look a little shady if we go look at edits and a supervisor signed and then a student changed the things. We want to assume that it was just updating an error they made, not them falsifying hours. So if you do have to make changes, we just ask that you guys re-sign after any changes are made, just so we stay above reproach and there's no questions about if the hours are legit or not. So pretty easy. You'll just go through weeks 1 all the way to the end of the semester. Shows everything in there. Signing off it, the more on top of it you can stay with signing, the better. That really does help. So, oops, gotta go to my timesheet thing. You will get this handout as well at orientation, kind of walking you through the steps. I kind of summarized the end of this, and so I didn't go through each bullet point because I kind of just told you what to do. Hopefully it's pretty user-friendly, like I said. If something doesn't make sense, the best person to contact is Darwin Glassford. He is our Director of Informational Technology at Kuiper. I will make sure that the contact information is included in the handout. That way you have it if you forgot your password, we can reset it. or if you just have questions or accidentally delete something, he's the best person to help troubleshoot anything. So hopefully that's really easy. At the end of the semester, again, we have 200 hours for the students who are doing it over 2 semesters, 400 hours for those students who are in block placements. And this is going to be the document, or this will be the document that will track all of it, hopefully very easily, very efficiently, with very limited stress. So hopefully this helps. Feel free to reference this video again down the semester if something doesn't make sense, or reach out to Pilar, or reach out to the Director of Informational Technology, Darwin. Cool. Thank you.